God's promise felt like a distant echo, and fear ruled the hearts of men. An 85-year-old man rose like a warrior. His name was Caleb, and it wasn't just any name. It was a roar. 45 years earlier, Caleb had walked this very land as a spy. He had seen it, smelled it, touched it. Hebron, the city of giants, the heart of Canaanite terror. And while the other 11 spies trembled, he saw beyond fear. He saw a promise. He saw a victory written by the finger of God. Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But the people did not listen. The heart of Israel bent toward fear, and the Lord condemned them to wander 40 years in the wilderness. 40 years. And yet, Caleb waited, not like one who resigns to aging, but like one who sharpens his sword each morning. Because when God makes a promise, time does not rust it. He watched an entire generation die, but he lived to remind the people what God had said. And now, in the twilight of his life, while others sought rest, he asked for war. You know what the Lord said to Moses. I was 40 years old when I was sent to spy the land, and today I am 85. I am still as strong as the day Moses sent me. Now therefore give me this mountain, whereof the Lord spoke. For you heard that day how the Anakim were there, and cities great and fenced. If the Lord is with me, I shall drive them out, as he said. And so the old man asked for the hardest mountain. He asked for danger. He asked for Hebron, not out of pride, but because he knew that the promises of God are conquered, not inherited, and the conquest would begin at dawn. The promised land is not handed over. It is taken with bloody hands, with bent knees, with unshaken faith. And Caleb knew it. Therefore, when the sun rose over Hebron, the sword of Judah rose with it. Caleb, are you sure? That city was made for giants, and we are not giants. We don't need to be giants. We have the Lord. He did not speak with arrogance, but with the certainty forged in deserts, losses, and inner battles. He did not trust in his strength. He trusted in the memory of a God who does not forget his promises. Only Caleb and Joshua shall enter the land, because they wholly followed the Lord. All the others were dead, but Caleb lived, not for himself, but to be a witness and a testimony. Lord, give me strength today, as you gave it to me then, not for me, but for your name, not for my glory, but for your faithfulness. And when a man prays like that, heaven listens, and the earth trembles, because there is nothing more terrifying than an old man with a living promise. The Anakim laughed. They were tall, fierce, trained from childhood for war, and yet something in Caleb's eyes disturbed them. It wasn't fury, it was destiny. Remember the promises. The Lord gave them to us not to dream but to possess. Do not fear. Today, faith wears steel. And so, the old man walked toward the giants, not like a suicidal fool, but like a prophet who knew the lion's blood still roared in his veins. But just before the first strike, something happened. It was a sound the elders remembered hearing at Sinai, a sound that came from no human instrument. It was the sound of the covenant, of the God who fights for his own. Because when heaven blows its horn, the earth responds, and Hebron, proud in its height, began to tremble. Who dares come against us? Who, if not a madman, a son of the promise? War is not always between equals, and that's all right, because faith doesn't seek advantage, it seeks obedience. While others searched for excuses, he found strength. While others spoke of age, he spoke of destiny. Therefore, Caleb became the fear of giants. Your God is not here, old man. Look at your bones. Hear how they creak. I was born for war, and I was born to fulfill a promise. The roar that was born in Egypt, that crossed the desert, that defied fear, now echoed on the walls of Hebron. And so, at 85 years old, Caleb took the city no one wanted, not because it was easy, but because it was his by divine right. This land bears witness that the Lord fulfills, and Hebron became, for the first time, holy ground, because an old man dared to believe. The battle was over, but the true war was just beginning, because to conquer is one thing, to preserve, to build, to live in holiness is another. Caleb didn't just claim land, he claimed a future, because the promise wasn't just for him, but for his house, for his children, and his children's children. You will not inherit only a land, my daughter. You will inherit a testimony. What we conquered with blood, you must keep with wisdom. And what if fear returns, Father? What if the enemies come back? Then remember who we are. We are Judah. We are the tribe of the roar. And above all, we are the people of a God who does not forget. Many saw Caleb as a warrior, and he was. But even more, he was a witness, a bridge between generations, between ancient promises and new hopes. And Hebron was given to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, as a lasting inheritance, not by luck, not by lineage, but because he wholly followed the Lord. Behold the man who believed when no one else believed. Behold the one who waited while all forgot. And behold the one who conquered, not by sword, but by faith. Caleb's life wasn't long by chance. It was prolonged by purpose, because there are men who do not die until they have sown what God entrusted to them. Therefore, Hebron was not just a city conquered. It was a promise made stone, a faith made history. And when the lion rests, the land knows it has been defended by righteousness. Every generation needs a story it will not forget. And Caleb knew that memory is the wall that keeps fear from reigning again. Do you know why I still walk firmly, though my bones complain? Because the voice of God doesn't fade with the years. The echo of his promise still resounds in my soul. Grandfather, how did you defeat the giants? Weren't you afraid? Yes, we were afraid. But faith is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to move forward even when the heart trembles. He did not speak to them with hollow glory. He spoke with scars, because wise men do not hide the marks of battle. They show them as maps for those to come. Here is where the other spies said, "We cannot." And here is where I said, "Yes, we can, if the Lord is with us." Therefore, while they died in the wilderness, I lived to fulfill what was promised. And did you never doubt? Not even once? I doubted many times, but I never doubted him. I doubted myself, my strength, the timing, but never the God who split the sea. Caleb was not perfect. He was not invincible, but there was something in him that made him incorruptible, a conviction that time could not wear down. He lived the Exodus. He walked beneath the cloud. He ate manna. He drank from the rock. And he saw all who said no perish, but he said yes, and that was enough for heaven to sustain him. Listen to me, sons of Judah. Do not inherit my land without inheriting my faith, for Hebron was not won by might, but by obedience. The words of an old man may sound weak, but when those words come from a witness of God's power, they can shake generations. And in that silent night, the spirit of the lion still walked among the stones of Hebron. Years passed. Caleb no longer wielded a sword, but his legacy moved, breathed, lived through his children. She is not just my daughter, she is part of the promise. Guard her as you would guard the inheritance of the Lord. My father gave me this land, but I need more than land. We need water. We need life. Father, grant me a blessing. Give me also the springs of water, the upper ones and the lower ones. Ah, my daughter, you too know the value of what is vital. You inherited not just my blood, but my discernment. I give you the upper springs and the lower springs as well. Therefore, may you never lack water in the land the Lord has given us. Just as Caleb had conquered with the sword, his daughter conquered with wisdom, and the legacy remained strong, not by the strength of the arm, but by the courage to know what to ask for and whom. The springs of Achsah were not just physical wells. They were signs that God does not give partial inheritances. When he promises, he also provides. Thank you, Lord, for not forgetting the old servant, nor his house. But there was still something left to do, because the faithful servant does not rest until every seed has been delivered. He returned to the place where it all began, where faith had been tested, where he had said, "Yes, we can." He returned, not out of nostalgia, but to seal the story. You said it, and you did it. You promised, and you fulfilled it. And now, I can rest. Final shot. Caleb's face bathed in the light of dawn. His eyes slowly close. The wind grows stronger, a reverent silence. And so, the last of the spies closed his eyes. But his story has just opened ours. Caleb was gone, but his roar did not fade. because true lions do not die, they are sown. And among the scrolls of the judges, among the annals of the brave, the name of Caleb was written not with ink, but with fire. His son-in-law Othniel, the young man who heard his stories by the fire, carried the flame beyond. But it was Caleb's spark that ignited that generation. His daughter Achsah turned the springs into gardens, because she understood that where water flows, the word can also bloom. And centuries later, another young man would come from Judah, one who would also face giants, one who would also declare, "I do not fight with a sword, but in the name of the Most High." Because the faith of Caleb did not end in Hebron, it was a seed that sprouted in fields he never stepped on. And though he died in the flesh, his spirit lived on in every heart that dared to believe. But my servant Caleb had a different spirit, and has followed me fully. Therefore I will give him the land he walked on. Numbers 14:24. Therefore the land was not his by sword, it was his by obedience. And when a people remembers the faith of one, that people will never again be slaves to fear. Because the roar of the righteous is the eternal voice of God echoing through history. Men pass away, but promises do not die. Because when God finds a heart fully surrendered, he makes it eternal in the memory of heaven. And they called him mad, and they said he was reckless, but God called him faithful, and that was enough. The mountains of Judah at dawn, the sound of sheathed swords, Othniel reporting as a judge, Achsah teaching Torah to children beside the water, a new generation singing in ancient Hebrew. Each of us walks on land someone once dreamed of, someone once fought for, someone once believed in. Therefore, we are not alone. We do not walk in vain. We do not fight without inheritance. In every valley conquered, in every spring that flows, in every battle won by faith, the spirit of Caleb lives on, and though his body sleeps, his story still roars.